Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I know that the past couple of videos that I've uploaded haven't been really intense, and I know that there are a lot of things that are happening in the world that I want to talk about, but in this video I'm gonna talk about something that has been around for a very very long time, and kind of dive into the meaning and explain a little bit about why this is the way, what this month is all about, basically. Yeah, so in a very very old video, I think it was like 2018 on my channel, back when my hair was still this long and was still using she her pronouns and possibly my dead name. I don't know. I think I changed it till I think I was going by Luna at that point. Anyways, I made a video explaining to you guys that I have a condition called Asperger's, but that's a very outdated term. When I was diagnosed, it was actually autism spectrum disorder, ASD. I'm autistic. Hi. I don't know if that's obvious or not. But I wanted to kind of talk about that and what it is, what autism is, and the representation, and why this month is so important. So April is Autism Awareness Month or Autism Acceptance Month. You can use both terms, but the reason why this month is all about, representation of autism and acceptance of that is because I think it was the late 60s, or it was definitely during the 20th century, like the 1900s and whatnot. The ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, was signed into law during the month of April, basically making it easier for people with disabilities to get accommodations, but also to say that it is illegal to discriminate against people who are autistic or who do have a disability of some sort. I am obviously protected under ADA for multiple reasons: autism, anxiety, depression, PTSD, all that jazz. Who is actually in the process of getting a service dog. I actually have been approved. So happy. Service dog is psychiatric, and it will be here later this year, so in winter, so December this year or the beginning of next year, so 2026. Fingers crossed. A little bit about autism. So autism is a neurological disorder in which it makes it hard for the person with the condition to basically, it's a lack of social skills. Like, it's hard to tell when people are joking, when people are serious. We don't really read the room very well. Some people have higher needs than others. I say high needs, low needs instead of high functioning, low functioning, because autism is different for everyone, but functioning labels I don't like for very specific reasons, is because World War II and how we were treated during the Second World War, especially during the Holocaust. So during the Holocaust, there was a German doctor. I'm not going to use the name, but when I say German doctor, I mean that. But basically, in the camps, this German doctor, I think his name is Hans Asperger, hence the term Asperger syndrome, Asperger's, which is why we don't use it anymore. But Hans would take prisoners of this camp and do experiments on them, and he would label them with functioning terms: high functioning, low functioning. Those that were low functioning were able to work and basically weren't tortured and unalived by the Germans. but those that were high functioning, I think it could be, I don't know if it's the other way around, but I think it was actually those that were high functioning, meaning like they could work, they could do stuff. Low functioning, sorry, I switched my terms up because I'm thinking high needs, low needs. Those with low needs could work. Those with high needs, who were low functioning, would be kept and tortured and experimented on. Yeah, and he would give the people that were autistic the name of Asperger's syndrome. That is now an outdated term. It actually was outdated in 2018. However, the doctor that diagnosed me was using old, outdated material to diagnose me with my autism. I was re-diagnosed in, I think later in 2018 or 2019 by another therapist with ASD, and I recently got re-diagnosed with the term of autism because on my record, it literally said Asperger's still, even though that's outdated. So I think now it is legally changed to autism. So thank you to that therapist. We appreciate you. You are amazing. That's one example of how people with disabilities, especially autism, were treated. Even after World War II, people would be treated horribly, bad representation in media, which I'll get into later. A term that I don't like using, which is the arsler. People would refer that as arsleration. I'm not gonna say it, 'cause if you are disabled, if you're autistic or have some other form of some form of disability, you know what the R slur is. I've been called it many times. I've basically been called every single slur at this point. I'm not going to dive into that, obviously, because I don't want to get this video taken down, Nannerd. And I personally don't want to dive into my trauma and my history about being discriminated against for being autistic, ableist. Anyways, people would be referred with that and would either be sent to hospitals or psychiatric hospitals where they were basically tortured or treated horribly. That's why the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, was signed into law during the month of April, which is why we say Autism Awareness Month or Autism Acceptance Month, or any form of disability. There are multiple disabilities that are celebrated during several months, but this one is specifically towards autism, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if there's any other autism, if there's any other month that is not celebrates it, but acknowledges it and says, hey, people are seen, people need to be heard. This is the month to do it. This is the month to talk about it. So after ADA was signed into law, things got easier. Still were difficult, but easier. I'm not sure about any other thing before 2001, just because I wasn't born until 2001 of November. For my experience as someone who was autistic, the things that I struggled with as a kid were fitting in. I'm a very outgoing and I'm a very loud and not obnoxious, but optimistic is the word. I'm someone that basically likes to talk about things that interest me, especially talk about things that interest me the most, especially with people that share the same interests. But as a kid, being autistic, I'm someone who really loves to make friends. I'm someone that needs friends in my life. Otherwise, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. And as a kid, you want to do that. You want to make friends. I had a hard time with that from kindergarten all the way up to high school. It was very difficult to make friends with people, mostly because people thought I was annoying or weird. I've been called that multiple times. and I got bullied a lot, which is unfortunately a very common thing for people who are autistic. I'd get bullied, I'd be verbally harassed, emotionally harassed. I've even been physically assaulted before. Not gonna dive into that. But yeah, people are really mean. Kids are mean, especially towards other people who act differently than them because they don't understand it. I think the first time that that people were really aware of autism was in 3rd grade. There was a kid in my class, in my 3rd grade class, who was autistic, and he had higher needs than I do. Back at the time, I didn't know I was autistic. Hey, but he definitely show like the signs of autism, lack of social skills, but he also had stuff that I struggle with even today. Sensitivity to noise. So fire drills, couldn't do them. He'd get pulled out, I'd get pulled out. Sitting still for long periods of time is hard. ADHD thing, but it also can be an autism thing, where he would do this thing where he would how a lot in media representation, a lot of people with autism just start flapping their hands. That's called stimming. He would stim every day, and it was his way to kind of regulate himself. Now that I know, at the time I was like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't want to stare, but I'm kind of curious. Now I know that that was his way of stimming and regulating his energy and helping him focus. And he was a pretty anxious kid, but he was a very outgoing kid as well. And he was friends with everyone. Everyone in the class, he'd say, "That's my friend, that's my friend, that's my friend, that's my friend." And that's one of the things that I liked about him. Even today, I still love his energy and whatnot. We're not friends right now. We're not friends anymore, but meaning that not because I didn't want to be friends with him, but we've drifted apart. He went to a different middle school. I went to a different middle school, mostly because I transferred to this school in 3rd grade, and then went back to then switched middle schools. So instead of going to the middle school that everyone in that school went to, I went back to the middle school that my former classmates and friends were going to. Complicated, but anyways, you get the idea. So I definitely struggled with sensitivity to loud noises. That's one of my biggest things. So the very first thing that I ever got diagnosed with was sensory processing disorder, otherwise known as SPD. SPD emergency, Power Rangers reference. That's one of my special interests. I will quote it and make jokes and references to it whenever I want to. So fire drills were definitely a major thing. I got pulled out from the year of 1st grade to half of 4th grade. And then my parents were like, "No, we're going to keep you inside." Our fire drills, which led up to me being unable to focus every month leading up to a drill. And once we had a drill, whether it was earthquake or lockdown, I would be able to relax because there was a drill every month. Sorry, I'm home alone right now and I just heard weird noises. Is there a spirit here? Are you trying to communicate with me? Okay. I'm also a very spiritual person. I'm a Christian. I believe in the afterlife and I believe in spirits. I'm also a psychic / medium. Not a professional, but I do speak with spirits from time to time. Anyways, I'm just gonna continue making the video, and if there's a spirit that wants to communicate with me, they can totally do so. Anyways, right, the fire drill thing. So every month in school, they'd always have a fire drill. If you're in elementary, middle school, high school, you would definitely know that they do monthly drills, and that can be from fire to lockdown to earthquake, or even tornado drills if you live in Tornado Alley. I don't know. I'm in Washington, so we don't have tornadoes up here. We never had those. But from the moment they started, keeping me in the classroom for 4th grade, my anxiety peaked. I would have trouble focusing every month, from the start of the month up to the day of a drill, because I didn't know if there was going to be a fire drill, because no one knows. If you're sitting, you know how like you're sitting in class and then all of a sudden, like your teachers will teaching something, all of a sudden the alarm goes off. Yeah, that's startling, even for people who don't have sensitive ears. It's startling, because fire alarms are supposed to be loud. Is me talking about the fire drills bothering you? If you want me to stop, can you give me a sign? Like tap, make a noise, or... Okay, making sure. I don't know. But every day, from the moment the month began to the day of a drill, I would be nervous and freaking out. I would like plug my ears like whenever I needed to. So I would do this. So I would basically put my hand on my cheek, and I would take my index finger and I would plug my ear. And that's how I would do things, especially during lectures, because if I were getting through the day and I didn't know if there was going to be a drill, I would do that on a day-to-day basis, because that's how anxious I was. The anxiety is actually the reason why I was getting pulled out in the first place. But because the school thought that I was doing a great job handling the fire drills, they thought, oh, they don't need to be pulled out anymore. They can stay in the classroom. The whole reason why I was doing well is because I was getting pulled out of the class to avoid getting scared and shocked. Because once my nervous system goes into overdrive, I can't focus. I can't calm down for a while. I have to basically like kind of hide into a shell. That's an example of overstimulation. When people who with autism get overstimulated, it's hard for them to calm down, especially if it's in an environment and loud and there's so much energy going on that you can't focus. Overstimulation. Fire drills gave me overstimulation, especially because I had to stay in the classroom from the second half of 4th grade to 5th grade. That's just the fridge. So yeah, that's an example of what autism does for me. Lack of social skills, not reading the room, saying before thinking got me into trouble a lot. It still does, and I always feel incredibly awkward, and I have to feel like I have to apologize for every single thing, which has unfortunately developed into a fawn response. It's a trauma response where you feel like you have to apologize for every single thing that you do, even if it's something that you don't need to apologize for. For example, asking people for things. I'm like, sorry, I don't want to. And it's like, you don't have to apologize. And I'm like, okay, sorry. That's a fun response because of the amount of times I've had to apologize for being autistic. I was treated pretty horribly, not because my family or people were, being discriminated against me, but the way, actually, unfortunately, people in my life were being discriminatory without even realizing it, or either they did realize it and didn't care. I had a bully from middle school all the way through high school, and I found out that the whole reason why they bullied me was because they found me annoying, just for the way I acted. I'm autistic. You're basically bullying me because you don't like the fact that I'm autistic. True, I may have said a couple things that I regret later on, but again, that is my autism talking, and then I always apologize after. I do my best actually to remember to apologize, and I do my best to not speak out and say things that I want to say to other people, because I don't know if it's something that I should say or I shouldn't say. I've gotten in trouble with that so many times, to the point where it's difficult for me. Sorry, I am drinking a soda. I also just ate dinner, so. How autism affects my life today. Social interactions are hard. Emotional breakdowns. I can't go into an overstimulating environment for too long because I will have a panic attack. And if I have panic attacks, if I get to the point where I start panicking, I result into, I feel dizzy, I feel sick, I need to lie down. Which is why my service dog is going to be helping me with that. Yay, anxiety, autism, all that jazz, all the mental stuff. I am mentally unwell. And I can make jokes about that because I have those disorders. I'm allowed to make jokes. That's one thing I will talk about. When comedians make jokes about disorders that they don't have, just because they want to be funny. I don't like that. I know you might say I'm woke or whatever, but honestly, I don't care. You can call me woke, you can call me a snowflake, but I have a reason to be upset when people make jokes about a disability that they do not have. Because there are a lot of misrepresentations and misconceptions about autism and whatnot. The one thing, and I kid you not, I have been told this. When people say that you don't look autistic, I hate that. It is so infuriating because apparently autism has a certain look, and most people think of like those with high needs, like my friend from 3rd grade, who obviously show the signs of autism and is very much different. But autism is a spectrum. People have high needs while I'm on the different half of the spectrum where I have low needs. I'm pretty much can function in everyday life. I just need a few things that I need help with. Remembering to brush my teeth, remembering to put on deodorant. Basically reminders that I have this stuff, that I have these things. Plus, with my ADHD, I'm hyper-focused, and it's hard for me to sit still. My thoughts are always racing. And then with my DID, when the alters switch out, I don't remember things because it's not me being present. It's my alters that are present. Again, if you want me to do a video on DID, I will absolutely do so. July is mental health awareness month. So if you want me to make a video about DID, I will gladly do that in July. But the fact that people say, you don't look autistic, I'm like, funny, what do you mean by that? I kid you not, I was told that. This was in my junior year of high school, so 11th grade. I was in my US history class, and we had a day where we were just reviewing, and we could review in groups, finish up our notes for the quiz, because we would basically have quizzes. We'd have a quiz every week about what we learned. We learned throughout the week that day. And we would basically just sit and we would, review with our table group. There was a kid in my class who I wasn't really close with, but I hadn't really spoken with her since like middle school, because we were in the same English class. So in middle school we had this three class group with one teacher, which we called block. And in 6th grade, it was 5th, 6th, and 7th period, because we had 7 periods in middle school. I don't know why we did, but apparently we did. Apparently we do. And then high school, we had 6, but started at 7:30 a.m. Yay, early high school time, am I right? But like this kid, like I remember she and I were just sitting there and we were talking. I was like, so how you've been? Like, good. Like, how are you? Good. I'm just, we haven't spoken in a while. I just want to, check and see how you're doing. Like, what's life up for you? And we, started talking about our lives. And then I said, yeah, I mean, it's been up and down. I mean, I literally just recently got diagnosed with autism. The first word out of her mouth was, really? You don't look autistic. I didn't know how to respond to that. I just kind of sat there and was like, well, was continuing to write my review notes. Like, how do you respond to that? You can't. As someone who's autistic, like, you don't know how to respond to a person telling you that you don't look like you have a disability when you clearly do. And some people don't really consider autism a disability. It is considered a disability. I say I'm autistic or I have autism. I mean, I don't have it. I am autistic. Like, yes, I do have it, but autism is kind of what makes up me. And without it, I'd just be like dull, boring. It's what gives me my energy and my creativity. And just, out there, hi, what's up? Yes, I struggle sometimes, but I'm still me. I can be normal. This is my normal. I'm not perfect. I'm not normal like everyone else is. I'm me. I am who I am because of my autism. And it's one of the things that, yes, I don't like it sometimes. I hate some things that come with it, but everything else, I love it. It's who I am today as a person. That, if you heard that tap, that whatever that spirit is, if it's a spirit, if it's just the house settling, they agree. They agree. I mean, yes, I am going to struggle. But then again, who isn't going to struggle in life? Autistic or not, neurodivergent, or neurotypical. It doesn't matter. Autism is a beautiful thing. Now, remember when I mentioned representation? The first thing was comedians. Well, there is a right way to represent autism and there is a wrong way. I'll start with the wrong way. So, since autism is a spectrum disorder, there are different ways that people can be people can be autistic, or there are different ways that you can represent it. Personally, I think that the best representation for me is The Good Doctor. You can say what you think about it. The Good Doctor is a medical TV drama that stars Freddie Highmore as Dr. Sean Murphy, who is autistic. He is low needs, but he's very similar to me, meaning that lack of social skills, doesn't really know things, is very honest. I have a tendency to be honest with people, even when I know I shouldn't, but I can't help it because my brain is like, do this, do that, and it's like, I don't know what to do. He gets overstimulated quickly, and he mentally shuts down. There is an episode in The Good Doctor, I'm not going to spoil much, but there was like the hospital had to go into quarantine because there was an outbreak of like a disease in the hospital. And he was in a room where everyone was freaking out and like trying to get demands like, we need this, we need that. Just like, why aren't you helping us? He literally does this thing where he does this and curls into a ball and it's just rocking back and forth. And that's a sign of that he was overstimulated. He shouts when people, like to kind of like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. He does this thing where he plays with his hair. And he has a toy scalpel that he basically holds onto for good luck. And that's his way to comfort himself. To basically, regulate his energy so he can focus on the task at hand, whether it's telling a patient that he's gonna die or they're gonna die, but also like understanding that he has a surgery and if he messes up, that person will die. So that's why I love about The Good Doctor, the representation. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's better than some of the other representations. For example, the movie with Sia. I've never seen it, but Sia did a movie where there was a girl with autism. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I heard that it is absolutely horrible. The representation is garbage. No. So if you're going to if you're gonna make a movie about representation, do your research first. Do your research, and I recommend that if a character is going to be autistic, cast that character with an actor or actress or someone with an actor that is autistic themselves. Best way to represent diversity and disability, have an actor that play that character that also has that said disability. For example, the actress who played Nessa Rose in the Wicked movie is physically disabled. She has a wheelchair. Nessa Rose in the movie has to use a wheelchair to move around. I'm just saying. That's just personally my opinion. You guys can have different views, but overall, autism is a gift. It has its ups and downs, but it's a normal thing. And if you know someone who's autistic, don't judge them. If you are autistic, don't judge yourself. Love yourself. Remember, my channel is LGBTQ friendly, disability friendly. We welcome everyone of any diversity, whether it's of a different race, a different ethnicity, different gender identity, sexuality, disability, if you're neurodivergent, neurotypical, it doesn't matter. You're all welcome here. I love you guys. I'm gonna end the video because I've been talking nonstop for 30 minutes. And when I talk for too long, I get overstimulated and I need to, not talk and go nonverbal. That's one thing about me. I need a break from my own voice, which, yeah. So, I love you guys. Happy Autism Acceptance Month. I know it's towards the end, but still. And I'll see you guys in a different video. Love you.